Have you ever felt your heart suddenly racing out of nowhere, pounding so fast it feels hard to breathe or think? That could be supraventricular tachycardia, or SVT. The good news is, it's treatable and in many cases curable with a minimally invasive procedure called ablation. Welcome to the Pulse Report. I'm Dr. Shen, a cardiologist specializing in electrophysiology and the Director of Research and Education in Cardiovascular Medicine. In today's episode, we'll be talking about SVT ablation, what it is, why it's done, how it works, and what to expect before, during, and after the procedure. Whether you or someone you care about has recently received a diagnosis or you're getting ready for treatment, I aim to help you feel knowledgeable, supported, and at ease throughout the process. SVT stands for supraventricular tachycardia, a fast heart rhythm that begins in the upper chambers of the heart, the atria. Think of your heart's electrical system like a well-timed orchestra. In a healthy heart, the sinus node, your heart's natural pacemaker, acts as the conductor, sending rhythmic signals that guide each heartbeat in perfect timing, one after another. But in SVT, an extra electrical loop or short circuit forms, almost like a musician who starts playing too fast and throws the rest of the group off tempo. Instead of moving in a smooth, steady rhythm, the signal gets trapped in a circular circuit, firing again and again. The result? A sudden, racing heartbeat that can last for seconds, minutes, or even longer. People often describe episodes as coming out of the blue. You might feel pounding in the chest, fluttering, shortness of breath, or lightheadedness. While SVT isn't usually life-threatening, it can be unsettling and disruptive to daily life. Medications such as beta blockers or calcium channel blockers can help control the rhythm. For some patients, visiting the emergency room to get intravenous adenosine may offer temporary relief. For others, an ablation offers a long-term and often curative solution by precisely targeting and eliminating the small area of heart tissue that causes the abnormal rhythm. SVT ablation is designed to correct the electrical short circuit in your heart. It typically uses controlled energy to create tiny scars in specific areas of the heart tissue. These microscopic scars act like barriers, blocking faulty electrical signals so that your heartbeat returns to its normal rhythm. Your doctor may recommend an SVT ablation if you have one of several specific rhythm conditions. One common type is atrioventricular nodal reentrant tachycardia, AVNRT, the most frequent form of SVT. Normally, the AV node has a single electrical pathway that carries signals from the top to the bottom of the heart. In AVNRT, however, there are two tiny pathways, a fast one and a slow one. Sometimes, the electrical signal gets caught looping between them, like a car circling endlessly around a roundabout. Each time it loops, it triggers another heartbeat, causing the heart to suddenly speed up. Another type is atrioventricular reentrant tachycardia, AVRT. In this rhythm, an extra electrical connection forms between the upper and lower chambers, like a shortcut road that shouldn't exist. When the signal takes that shortcut, it can race back and forth between the chambers, like a car speeding along a hidden back road, producing bursts of fast heartbeats until the loop is broken. Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome is similar to AVRT and also involves an extra electrical pathway between the upper and lower chambers. Think of it like having a back door in addition to the normal front door of the heart's electrical system. In WPW, the signal can travel through both doors, creating a loop that may cause rapid or dangerous rhythms. People with WPW may experience sudden fainting spells or, in rare cases, life-threatening arrhythmias. Another cause is focal atrial tachycardia, which occurs when a small area in the upper chamber begins firing electrical signals too quickly, like a single musician in an orchestra playing ahead of the conductor. This rapid firing creates a steady but abnormally fast heartbeat. Depending on your specific heart rhythm and how often symptoms occur, ablation may be recommended early as a first-line treatment or after medications have proven less effective. Your care team will discuss the potential benefits and risks with you and tailor the plan to your individual needs. Since SVT can have different underlying causes, the first step in any SVT ablation is what's called an electrophysiology study, or EP study. Think of it as a detailed electrical map of your heart. During this study, your doctor threads soft, flexible catheters with tiny sensors through a vein, usually in the groin and into the heart. These sensors record the timing and flow of electrical signals to see exactly where the short circuit is forming. One of the key steps in the EP study is something called inducibility. That is when your care team safely tries to recreate your fast rhythm under controlled conditions. By gently pacing or stimulating the heart, they can trigger the same rhythm that causes your symptoms. Once the SVT appears, your doctor can see its pattern in real time and identify the exact spot where it starts. If the rhythm can't be induced, that's still useful information. It tells your team that the arrhythmia may be sporadic or that additional tests are needed. Either way, the EP study provides a roadmap that guides a precise and successful ablation, often performed in the same session. With all of these in mind, now, let's dive in and talk about what happens before the SVT ablation. Before your ablation, your doctor will confirm the diagnosis and review your heart's electrical pattern. You may have blood tests to check safety, an ECG to record rhythm, an echocardiogram to assess structure and pumping strength, or a Holter monitor to capture rhythm episodes over time. These tests help pinpoint your specific rhythm problem and guide precise treatment planning. A few days before your procedure, your care team will review your medical history, medications, and allergies. Bring an updated medication list and report any changes. If you take rhythm drugs or blood thinners, your doctor may ask you to pause or adjust them to reduce bleeding risk and ensure the procedure's accuracy. You'll be asked not to eat or drink after midnight before your ablation to prevent nausea and aspiration during anesthesia. SVT ablations are generally done under deep sedation, meaning you'll be relaxed and sleepy. You'll not remember or feel any pain. SVT ablation is performed in a specialized electrophysiology lab, a high-tech environment designed for detailed mapping of the heart's electrical system. Throughout the procedure, your team will continuously monitor your heart rhythm, oxygen level, and blood pressure to ensure your safety and comfort. After your skin is cleaned and numbed, the electrophysiologist inserts thin, flexible catheters through a small vein, usually in the groin, sometimes in the neck. These catheters are guided into your heart using X-ray and advanced 3D mapping technology, allowing the doctor to see your heart's electrical activity in real time and begin creating an electrical map. Once the catheters are in place, your doctor performs an EP study. During this test, the heart is gently paced to safely reproduce your SVT, called inducibility, so the team can pinpoint the exact source of the abnormal rhythm and guide precise treatment. When the abnormal area is identified, your doctor delivers energy through the catheter tip to interrupt the small, short circuit. Depending on your condition, this may involve radiofrequency energy, which uses gentle heat to treat the tissue, or, less commonly, cryoablation, which uses controlled cold. Both methods precisely eliminate the extra electrical pathway while protecting nearby heart tissue. You won't feel pain during ablation, though you may notice mild pressure in the leg where the catheter is inserted, or a brief warm sensation in your chest. The entire procedure usually lasts 1 to 3 hours, depending on the complexity of your heart rhythm and how easily the circuit can be mapped. Once complete, the catheters are removed, gentle pressure is applied to the leg to stop any bleeding, and a small bandage is placed. After your ablation, you'll be taken to a recovery area where your heart rhythm and vital signs are carefully monitored as the sedation wears off. You'll lie flat for a few hours to allow the groin site to heal while nurses regularly check your rhythm, blood pressure, and oxygen level. Most patients are able to go home the same day, though in some cases, your doctor may suggest staying overnight for further observation. Before you leave, your care team will examine the catheter site for bleeding or swelling, review your medications and recovery plan, make sure you can walk, eat, and drink comfortably, and answer any final questions. Most people can walk later that day or by the next morning. Once you're back home after your SVT ablation, recovery is usually smooth and steady. You may notice mild soreness, bruising, or a small lump where the catheter was inserted. That's normal and should improve within a few days. Keep the area clean and dry, and avoid soaking in bathtubs, swimming pools, or hot tubs until it's fully healed. If a small dressing is in place, your care team will tell you when to remove it, usually within a day or two. For the first 24 hours, take it easy. Light walking around your home is encouraged, but avoid bending, straining, or lifting anything heavier than about 10 pounds. Over the next few days, you can gradually return to your usual routine, but it's best to wait about a week before resuming strenuous exercise or activities that put pressure on the groin. If your job involves physical labor, talk with your doctor about when to return. It's usually within 1 to 2 weeks. Your doctor will review whether to restart or adjust any of your heart medications. Some patients may continue on antiarrhythmic drugs for a short time as the heart heals, while others can stop them immediately. Always follow your specific instructions. Never change or skip medications without your care team's approval. It's normal to notice occasional skipped beats or brief fluttering for a few weeks after the procedure. These early palpitations don't mean the ablation didn't work. They're part of the heart's natural healing process as inflammation resolves. You may also feel a little more tired than usual for the first few days. This is temporary and usually improves with rest, hydration, and light activity. Even though complications after an SVT ablation are uncommon, it's important to know when to reach out. You should contact your doctor or seek immediate care if you experience sudden, severe chest pain or pressure, as this could signal a heart or blood vessel problem that needs urgent evaluation. If you have fainting or near fainting spells, your heart rhythm or blood pressure may not be stable. Shortness of breath that worsens, especially if it feels new or different from before the procedure, also warrants prompt attention. Watch for excessive bleeding, swelling, or warmth at the catheter site, which may indicate internal bleeding or infection. Finally, fever, chills, or drainage from the puncture site can be signs of infection and should never be ignored. Most people recover smoothly without any of these problems, but it's always wise to check in if something doesn't feel right. After an SVT ablation, most patients notice a real change. Their heartbeat feels steady again, and the sudden racing episodes are gone. Studies show that the success rate is typically 95 to 98%, depending on the type of SVT. And for many people, that means complete freedom from fast heart rhythms. In a small number of cases, about 1 to 2%, the abnormally fast heart rhythm, or tachycardia, can return. If it does, it's usually straightforward to treat with a repeat ablation or a small medication adjustment. That's why we always schedule a follow-up visit within 6 to 8 weeks to check how the heart is healing and to confirm that the rhythm is stable. The outcomes are just as strong in children and young adults, typically exceeding 90% for the initial procedure, showing that SVT ablation offers a durable, long-term solution that often eliminates the need for lifelong medication. That wraps up our guide to SVT ablation. Remember, it is designed to restore your heart's rhythm and your confidence. Stay consistent with your follow-up visits, listen to your body, and make heart-healthy choices. With the right care, you can continue living an active, safe, and fulfilling life, free from sudden racing heartbeats. If you found this guide helpful, please share it with someone who may be preparing for an ablation or dealing with SVT. And don't forget, you can find our patient-friendly pocket guide linked in the episode notes. Thank you for listening to the Pulse Report. I'm Dr. Shen, and let's keep your heart and your life going strong and in rhythm.